5 stories featuring parallel worlds. Placebo by David Mason. The Doorway by Evelyn E. Smith. Back to Julie by Richard Wilson. A Hitch in Time by Frederick Pohl. Never Meet Again by Algis Budrys. Placebo by David Mason. Originally published in Infinity Science Fiction, November 1955. Narrated by Tom Trussell. Each 1955 was worse than the last. The object appeared in the middle of Main Way, about 50 feet from the statue of Vachel Lindsay, at least 100 from anything else. It was much too big and complicated to have been hidden anywhere, and it hadn't any wheels, tracks, wings, or other visible means of movement. Corrigan, looking the object over, decided that it could not have come from any logical place in the world. Not being prejudiced, he then thought a little about the illogical places, and the places that weren't in the world. Corrigan decided that it must have been another attempt at time travel, and he clucked his tongue sympathetically. Well, someone had to break the news. Corrigan arose from the grass and walked toward the object. There was a young man sitting in the object, on a sort of high saddle. He looked a little wild-eyed, and he seemed to be talking to himself as he pulled and twisted at the rows of controls in front of him. Corrigan, looking up at him, decided that he couldn't be very healthy, and that the stiff grey garments he wore must be extremely uncomfortable. "Greetings, traveller," Corrigan called. "You're speaking English!" the young man exclaimed. "Good! Maybe I can get some help here. What year is this?" 1955 by most systems." The young man turned a little paler. "I just left 1955, he said unhappily. 4 times, in fact. 4 different 1955s, and each one's a bit worse. Now the machine won't work." "Your theory's wrong," Corrigan said calmly. "Hasn't it occurred to you yet that time travel might be impossible?" The young man made a choked sound. He began to climb down from his perch, keeping his eyes fixed suspiciously on Corrigan as he did so. He saw Corrigan as a small brown man, dressed in loose blue trousers, barefooted, and with a puff of white hair that seemed never to have been properly cut. The lawns and grassy roads, the bright and impermanent-looking buildings, and Corrigan himself, all added up to one thing in the young man's mind. "You're wrong," Corrigan said. "I'm not a lunatic, and this isn't an asylum. We don't have them." The young man, on the ground now, stared at Corrigan in evident horror. "Mind-reading?" "More or less," Corrigan said. "It saves time. For instance, you're Darwin Lenner, and you'd like very much to get back to wherever you started from. In fact, you have to, or something unpleasant might happen to you, by your standards." "I'll be absent without permission," Lenner admitted. I wish you wouldn't do that." "Only when absolutely necessary," Corrigan smiled. "I'm a philosopher by trade myself, not a mind-reader. My name's Philip Corrigan, and I'll be very glad to help you on your way. But I think it might be a little difficult. We aren't really a very mechanically minded people here." Lenner ran his hands through his hair. "I've got to get back. Isn't there anybody who knows something about time machines?" Corrigan had been thinking swiftly. He had also been carrying on a conversation which Lenner could not possibly hear with a man who was several miles away. "Well, he wants to go home. Fine, he ought to. Why doesn't he? He lost his confidence. He thinks his machine's broken down. That kind, eh? I suppose the thing never really did work very well." "Most of them don't. They go travelling around hit or miss through probability under the operator's own mental stream. But this fellow probably comes from a world where an idea like that's illegal." "Sounds like it. Corrigan, take him on a guided tour or something, and keep him busy. I'll be over as soon as I can. I'm going to do something for his self-confidence. Here's the story to give him." Corrigan had always enjoyed conducting guided tours, and he was enjoying this one especially well. He had a slightly wicked taste for complicated teasing, and Lenner was a perfect object. had evidently come from one of the more unpleasant probabilities, a world full of complex rules and harshly restrictive. Anything that he saw bothered him. The handsome girls, wearing unstrategically placed flowers and very little else, the flocks of children, as plentiful as pigeons and apparently as free of supervision, the almost total absence of anybody actually performing useful work. All of it contributed to Lena's increasing nervousness. The guided tour went in a wide circle, and Lena and Corrigan wound up sitting in a tavern facing on Mainway. Lena ignored the green drink before him and peered unhappily out the big window toward his machine. "Where is that friend of yours?" he asked for the 5th time. "He'll be here," Corrigan assured him. "Why hurry? Don't you like it here?" Lena's mouth hardened. He looked around him and shook his head. "No." He spoke almost apologetically. "I'm sorry. Well, look, old fellow, no hard feelings, I hope, but this world of yours is primitive. Degenerate, I'd say." "Primitive?" "No laws, not even morals. Those girls. And, of course, you don't have any civilized advantages, not even ground transportation. That man you spoke of has to walk here, and that's something else I don't understand. You say he's another time traveller." "Probability traveller, actually," Corrigan corrected. "All right, probability. Why does he stay here? Why would a really intelligent man give up civilization?" "Well, you know how it is. He's gone native, you might say. Life among the lotus eaters and all that. Might happen to anybody, even yourself." Lena shuddered. "It's all right, though," Corrigan continued. "He'll be here any minute, and I'm sure he'll be able to help. Knows all there is to know about these machines. In fact, here he comes now." Burwell entered, and Corrigan could hardly suppress a small chuckle. Burwell had picked up Lena's ideas about what a man of intelligence and authority ought to look like, and had gone to some trouble to look the part. He was wearing a uniform of some sort, spectacles, and an expression of extreme wisdom. "I'm sure I can repair what's wrong," Burwell told Lena. "Let's go and look at your machine." Arriving, Burwell climbed over the mechanism with an air of bored ability, occasionally thumping at something, adjusting something else, or hitting a part with the tool until it rang. He muttered to himself as he worked, allowing the sound of his musings to drift in Lena's directions. Badly twisted impeller. The varish is more or less waffled. Let's see if... there we are." He climbed down and solemnly shook hands with Lena. "Fine machine you've got there, my boy. It'll take you back to your own place quite easily now. There wasn't a thing wrong except the drift crotch. However, I wouldn't use it again if I were you. There's no real control on these things. A man could end up anywhere. And, of course, you'd never find your way back here without control." "Well, thanks," Lena said doubtfully. He glanced around. "It's a shame there's no way we could regularly communicate between our worlds. There's a lot we could do for this one." "I'm sure of that," Burwell said, hastily looking away. "But it isn't worth the danger and difficulty of reaching us. For myself, it doesn't matter any more." He assumed a nobly tragic expression. "But you are young. You've got your life ahead of you. Your state and your society need you. I'm glad to help you on your way." Lena mounted the machine, and Burwell beamed a thought at Corrigan. "I've convinced him that the thing works, and that it would not be easy to come back. Actually, that machine of his is a real work of art. It doesn't do a damn thing. This boy comes from a place where they have to have a mechanical crutch for everything. His gadgets are pink pill stuff. Something to convince him he can do things he could do anyway. All we have to do now is give him a small mental shove to help him along, and he'll be home in no time. All right now, shove." Corrigan and Burwell shoved. Lena and his machine faded and were gone, leaving only a flattened place on the grass. "Brr," Burwell said. "Am I glad that worked. If he'd stayed another week or so, we would have to have our first lunatic of the century." "Or worse," Corrigan said, stirring the grass with his toes. "Did you get what he was thinking about when he talked about his world and ours getting into touch and civilizing us?" "I got it all right," Burwell said. "The fellow's mind was a swamp, a real primitive, and just like any other primitive, all he needed was a placebo from a witch doctor. Me in my savage regalia. Just let me get this thing with the glass in it off my nose, and these button things opened up a bit, and we can get on with that chess game. I hope the next traveller picks somewhere else to land, though. I've never felt so silly in my life.
The end. Subscribe for your daily stories of futures past. And now, for the next story.
The Doorway by Evelyn E. Smith. Originally published in Fantastic Universe, September 1955. Narrated by Tom Dressel. "It is my theory," Professor Falabella said, helping himself to a cookie, "that no one ever really makes a decision. What really happens is that whenever alternative courses of action are called for, the individuality splits up and continues on two or more divergent planes, very much like the parthenogenesis of an unicellular animal. Delicious cookies, these, Mrs. Hughes."
"Thank you, Professor," Gloria simpered. "I made them myself." "You must give us the recipe," said one of the ladies, and the others murmured agreement, glad to get their individualities on a plane they could understand.
"Since most decisions are hardly as momentous as the individual imagines," Professor Falabella continued, "and since the imagination of the average individual is very limited, many of these different planes, or as they are colloquially known, space-time continuums, may exist in close, even tangential relationship." Gloria rose unobtrusively and took the teapot to the kitchen for a refill. Her husband stood by the sink, moodily drinking whiskey out of the bottle, so as to avoid having to wash a glass afterward. "Bill, you're not being polite to our guests. Why don't you go out and listen to Professor Falabella?" "I can hear him perfectly well from here," Bill muttered. And indeed, the Professor's mellifluous tones pervaded every nook and cranny of the thin-walled house. Long-winded cultist. What is he a professor of, I'd like to know? "Professor Falabella is not a cultist," affirmed Gloria angrily. "He's a great philosopher." Bill Hughes said something unprintable. "If I'd married Lucy Allison," he continued unkindly, "she'd never have filled the house with long-haired cultists on my so-called day of rest." Gloria's soft chin trembled, and her blue eyes filled with tears. She was beginning to put on weight, he noticed. "I've been hearing nothing but Lucy Allison, Lucy Allison, Lucy Allison for the past year. You said yourself she looked like a horse." "Horses," he observed, "have sense." He was being brutal, but he couldn't help it, and didn't want to. Professor Falabella was only the most long-winded of a long series of mystics Gloria was forever dragging into the house. The trouble with the half-educated, he thought bitterly, is that they seek culture in the most peculiar places. "I'll bet she would have let me have peace on Sunday," he said. "It just goes to show what happens when you marry a woman solely for her looks." He drained the bottle, then hurled it into the garbage pail with a resounding crash. Gloria's shoulders shook as she filled the kettle. "I wish I decided to be an old maid," she sobbed. A very unlikely possibility, he thought. Even now, shop-worn as she was, Gloria could have fairly wide range of suitors should something happen to him. She looked sexy, but how deceiving appearances could be. Professor Falabella was still talking as Bill and Gloria emerged from the kitchen. "I believe that it is possible for an individual who exists on a limited plane of imagination to transpose from one plane to an adjacent one without difficulty. Great heavens, what was that?" Something had whisked past the archway leading to the foyer. "Don't pay any attention," Gloria smiled nervously. "The house is haunted." "My dear," one of the ladies offered, "I know the most marvellous exterminator." "The house," Gloria assured her coldly, "really is haunted. We've been seeing things ever since we moved in." And she really believed it, Bill thought. Believed that the house was haunted, that is. Of course he had seen things too, but he was enlightened enough to know that ghosts don't exist, even if you do see them. Professor Falabella cleared his throat. "As I was saying, it is possible to send the individual through another, well, dimension,
as some popular writers would have it, to one of his other spatial existences on the same temporal plane. It is merely necessary for him to find the door." "Nonsense," Bill interrupted. "Wholly unmitigated nonsense." Every head swiveled to look at him. Gloria restrained tears with an effort. "Brute," someone muttered. But ridicule apparently only stimulated the professor. He beamed. "You don't believe me. Your imagination cannot extend to the comprehension of the multifariousness of space." "Nonsense," Bill said again, but less confidently. "I believe that I have discovered the doorway," Professor Falabella continued, "and the way is open. However, most people fear to penetrate the unknown, even though it is to enter another phase of their own existence. I do admit that the shock of spatial transference, no matter how slight, combined with the concrete awareness of a previous spatial relationship, would be perhaps too much for the keenly sensitive individualism." Bill opened his mouth. "I know what you're about to say, young man." "You don't have to be a mind reader to know that," Bill assured him. His consonants were already a little slurred, and he knew Gloria was ashamed of him. It served her right. He'd been ashamed of her for years. Professor Falabella smiled. His teeth were very sharp and white. "Very well, Mr. Hughes. Since you are a skeptic, perhaps you will not object to being the subject of our experiment yourself." "What kind of an experiment?" Bill asked suspiciously. "Merely to go through the door. Any door can become the doorway if it is transposed into the proper spatial dimension. That door, for instance." Professor Falabella waved his hand toward the doorway of what Gloria liked to call Bill's study. "You mean you just want me to open the door and go into that room?" Bill asked incredulously. "That's all?" "That is all. Of course, you go with the awareness that it is the threshold of another plane, and that you will step voluntarily from this existence to an adjacent one." "Sure," Bill said. He had just remembered there was a nearly full bottle of Calvert in the bottom drawer of the desk. "Sure, anything to oblige." "Very well. Go to the door, and keep remembering that your own free will you are passing from this plane to the next." "Look out, everybody," Bill called raucously as he pulled open the door. "I'm coming in on the next plane." No one laughed. He stepped over the threshold, shutting the door firmly behind him. A wonderful excuse to get away from those blasted women. He'd climb out of the window as soon as he'd collected the whiskey, and give them a nervous moment thinking he'd really passed into another existence. It would serve Gloria right. For a moment, as he crossed, he had a queer sensation. Maybe there was something in what Professor Falabella said. But no, there he was in the study. All that mumbo-jumbo was getting him down, that was all. He was a nervous man, only nobody appreciated the fact. Taking a cigarette out of the pack in his pocket, he reached for the lighter on his desk. It wasn't there. Time and time again he'd told Gloria not to touch his things, and always she'd disobeyed him. Company was coming and she must tidy up. Cooking and cleaning, that was all she was good for. But this was carrying tidiness too far. She'd even removed the ashtrays. And where did that glass block paperweight come from? He'd had a penguin in a snowstorm, and he'd been happy with it. This was too much. He'd tell Gloria off, stealing a man's penguin. He opened the door into the living room and bumped into Lucy Allison. "Don't you think you've been in there long enough, Bill?" she asked acridly. "I'm sure your guests would appreciate catching a glimpse of you." "Why, hello, Lucy," he said, surprised. "I didn't know Gloria had invited you." "Gloria, Gloria, Gloria," Lucy cut across his sentence. "You've been talking about nothing but that dumb little blonde for months." Because of the people in the room beyond, her voice was pitched low, but her pale eyes glittered unpleasantly behind her spectacles. "I wish you had married her. You'd have made a fine pair." Gently, caressingly, the short hairs on the back of Bill's neck rose. "Come back in here," Lucy said, hauling him back into the living room where a number of people who had been enjoying the domestic fracas suddenly broke into loud and animated chatter. "Dr. Hildebrand was telling us all about nuclear fission." "Can't find an ashtray," Bill muttered, seizing on something tangible. "Can't find an ashtray in the whole darn place." "We've been over this millions of times, Bill. You know," she smiled at the guests, a smile that carefully excluded Bill. "I'm allergic to smoke, but I never can get my husband to remember he isn't to smoke inside the house." "Now take the neutron, for example," Dr. Hildebrand said through a mouthful of pâté. "What is the neutron? It is only— What was that?" The wraith of Gloria crossed the foyer and disappeared. Bill took a step forward, then stood still. Lucy smiled self-consciously. "That's nothing at all. The house is merely haunted." Everyone laughed. "Forgot something," Bill muttered, and dashed back into the study. He yanked open the bottom drawer of the desk. Sure enough, there was a bottle of Chenelet, nearly a third full. There are some advantages, he thought as he tilted it to his lips, in having a limited imagination.
The end. Subscribe for your daily stories of futures past. And now, for the next story. Back to Julie, by Richard Wilson, originally published in Galaxy Science Fiction, May 1954. Narrated by Tom Trussell. You can't go shooting off to that dimension for peanuts. I don't want to give you the impression that peanuts are in short supply here, or that our economy is in the fix of having to import them sidewise. What I'm trying to convey is that if you're one of the rare ones functionally equipped to do the side shuffle, you ought to be well paid for it, in any coin. That's what I told Krasnow, and he wasn't after peanuts. "I'll do it," I said, "if you'll make it worth my while." "I'd hardly expect you to do it for nothing," he replied reproachfully. "How much do you want?" I told him. The amount shook him up, but only briefly. "Okay," he said grudgingly. "I suppose I'll have to give it to you, but the stuff had better be good." "Oh, it is," I assured him, "and you don't have to be afraid, because I couldn't possibly skip with the loot. I'll have to travel naked. I can't get there with so much as a sandal on one foot or a filling in a single tooth. Fortunately, my teeth are perfect." Sweat poured off Krasnow's florid face as he worked the combination of his office safe. His fat jowls quivered unhappily around his cigar while he counted out the bills. 10% was cash in advance, and the rest went into a bank account in my name. I paid off a batch of bills, then stripped and did my off to Buffalo. Honest John Krasnow was a crooked district attorney who wanted to be governor and then president. He had the machine, but he didn't have the people. And because he needed the people, he needed me. I had been to this other dimension, the one on the farthest branch of the time tree, and I could give him what he wanted. Krasnow found out about it after I was hauled up in front of him on a check-kiting charge. I'd had something of a reputation before I got into difficulties, and, in trying to live up to the reputation, I had done some plain and fancy financing. Nothing that 15 to 20 grand wouldn't have fixed, but while I scrounged around, trying to get cash, I kited a few checks. They pyramided me right into the DA's office, where Krasnow was probably sympathetic. "How," he asked, "could a man of your standing in the scientific world stoop so low?" It developed into quite a lecture, and even coming from Krasnow, it made me feel pretty low. So I began explaining. I told him where I was born, and where I went to school, and where I had taken my sabbaticals, including this other dimension. And Krasnow believed me. I can't account for it, except possibly because he knew he was a crook, and I knew I wasn't one, exactly. Anyway, he believed me, and we made the deal, and I did the side shuffle, as agreed. The journey to that other dimension is not a pleasant one. It does disturbing things to the stomach, and you see everything thin and elongated, as if you're sitting too far to the side in a movie theatre. I got there, however, and waited for the hiccups to subside. Hiccupi laterali, I had called them when I considered writing an article for the medical journal after my first trip. With the hiccupi gone, I stole some clothing, which was one of the riskiest parts of the program, and waited for morning. I didn't have any money, of course, so I had to hitchhike into town. I could have stolen myself a better fit, but people aren't clothes conscious in that dimension. They're more interested in what you are and what you can do. The driver of the car that gave me a lift asked, "And what is your field of endeavour?" I told him, "I am able to eliminate the long wait in ivory production by accelerating the growth cycle of elephants." He was deeply impressed and tipped me handsomely. I was less impressed with his talent for growing cobbler's corn, and therefore had to return only a small part of the sum he gave me. The world of this dimension had developed some remarkable parallels to Earth. I mean our Earth, which falls into what I have called designated Timeline 1.1, since it's the Earth with which I am most familiar. Every other world that has a language calls itself Earth 2. I had to visit briefly hundreds of the lateral worlds, hovering over primordial swamps, limitless oceans, insect kingdoms, and radioactive planetoids, before I found the one that was truly parallel. It existed in Timeline 17.08, and it had refrigerators, platinum blondes, automobiles, airplanes, apple pie, tabloids, television, scotch and soda. Just about everything we think makes life worthwhile. But it had its little differences, which was only to be expected in a timeline where the bionomics would create a new world each time someone changed his mind. Thus, the cobbler's corn man was driving what looked to me like a Chevrolet, but which was a Morton in his world. He let me off near a downtown restaurant where, thanks to a little exchange of talent talk, I had enough money for breakfast. It was considered unethical to swap talent talk outside the limits of certain rigidly defined groups, so I didn't try to out-impress the waitress. Fed, and feeling my stolen clothes a bit better, I walked to the recorder's office and spent the rest of the morning looking up old documents. There was nothing there for Krasnow, as I had expected. But for me there was a very pretty file clerk. Talking to her, I verified my impression that human instincts and relationships were much the same in this dimension as in my own, except in the one basic respect that interested Krasnow, of course. The file clerk and I lunched together, and then I spent the afternoon in the library. But I didn't find anything there either, and then I had dinner with her. She said her name was Julie. I told her mine was Heck, for Hector, which it is. She thought this was awfully cute, and we got along fine. Julie had a delightful apartment and a matching sense of hospitality. The following day, when she went to work, I stayed home and washed the dishes and made the bed and used the telephone. I ran up quite a bill with my long-distance calls, but I found out what I needed to know. I impressed a lot of people with my elephant story, and pretended to be impressed hardly at all with what they told me they did, although often I was, very much. The trouble with these people is that they no longer know how to lie, if that can be listed as trouble. I don't think it can. Neither did Krasnow, obviously. He'd never have sent me off on my expensive side trip if he had. Of course, Krasnow looked at it objectively. What he wanted from Timeline 17.08 was not for himself. It was for everybody else. He wanted the formula for the truth gas these people had developed long ago and loosed upon their world to put a stop to wars. They had been in a bad way, although no worse than the sort of problem we were up against. Their trans-ocean squabbles and power politics seemed to have settled into a pattern of a war or two per generation, just like us. Hence, the man who invented the truth gas became a global hero after a certain amount of cynicism and skepticism. All the doubts vanished naturally once the gas got to working, and so did war. You can't do much plotting and scheming if, every time you open your mouth to tell a lie, you stammer, sweat, turn red, and gasp for breath. It's a dead giveaway. Nobody tries it more than once. 1 or 2 men had tried to nullify the gas or work out a local antidote, either as a pure research project or through power madness. But because they had to state their purposes as soon as they thought of them, they were put away. Neat. Very neat. What I wanted was a formula for the truth gas. Its location wasn't exactly a secret in this land of complete candour, but it wasn't writ large on any wall for all to see either. They kept it in the capital, located about where our Omaha is, on file among the vital statistics. I took a superjet out there. I had no trouble posing as a historian entitled to the facts. The gas didn't work on me, you see, because it was adjusted to the physiology of that timeline. There was just enough difference between us for it not to make me stick to the truth. "We'll write out the formula for you," I was told obligingly, "but you'll have to sign the usual statement." "Of course," I said. "Which one is that?" "The one that says you won't publish it, and will destroy your copy when it has served your research purpose without letting anyone else see it." "Oh, that statement," I said. I signed freely, told my elephant story, and departed in an aura of goodwill. The jet got me back that same evening. Julie fixed me up a snack, and we discussed how pretty she was and how nice I was. I had everything Krasnow wanted now. I felt pretty good about it, because there was nobody else who could have done the job for him, and because it wasn't spying, really. Earth 1.1 on the timeline is world enough for Krasnow, I'm sure. Besides, dimensions don't have wars with one another. Too many things can go wrong. Julie was lovely, and I hated to leave the next morning, but it was my job. I told her, "I'm afraid I have to leave town for a bit, dear, but I'll be back very soon. Business, you know." Being a 17.08 girl, Julie had no reason to doubt me. "Make it very soon," she whispered, her lips close to my ear. So I came back, and now Krasnow has what he wants. He is delighted, as he should be. I've made up the gas for him and adjusted the formula so that it will work on people of our timeline. It's high-power stuff, and a little will go a long way. I also made up an antidote for him. This was easy, since I could work on it without feeling any compulsion to tell everybody what I was doing and why. Krasnow plans to release the truth gas just before the state convention. He'll be nominated, of course, and after November he'll be governor. With everyone else compelled to tell the truth, it should be a cinch for him. He is a patient man, honest John Krasnow is, and is willing to wait 4 years for the presidency. I ought to be happy, too. With the money Krasnow gave me, I've been living in the style to which I've always wanted to be accustomed. He has offered me a place on his staff, and somewhat superfluously the use of his antidote. Naturally, the reason he was so magnanimous was that he doesn't want anyone else around who knows his gimmick and might have to tell the truth about it. But I have had enough of this dimension now that Krasnow has what I promised him. He's going to use it tomorrow, and if I know honest John, and I do, not even the presidency will be big enough for him. So I'm going back to Julie. There are some obvious questions in your mind, I know, such as, why did I get the formula for Krasnow knowing there was no way for him to prosecute me while I was in Julie's dimension? And what made me come back? In short, what was in it for me? Let's call it research. Krasnow is a big-time operator. I've always been, you might say, in the peanut end of the game. He had a great deal to teach me, and I'm happy to say, was an apt pupil. You might speculate on what's in it for you, because, if you asked me, anybody who can do the side shuffle would do it before Krasnow becomes president. However, don't go to 17.08 unless you want to swap one Krasnow for another. The fact is that I've learned I can be one in Julie's dimension. After all, their formula doesn't work on me. but I can assure you that it will work on you. And that elephant story I told on my last visit is, as I've indicated, in the peanut category. All Krasnow has is a country. I'll have a whole world. There's nothing like study under a master, is there? I should be back to Julie by midnight if I start now.
The end. Subscribe for your daily stories of futures past. And now, for the next story.
A Hitch in Time by Frederick Pohl, writing as James McCree, originally published in Thrilling Wonder Stories, June 1947. Narrated by Tom Trussell. Obviously, the man was dying, and there was no chance that he ever would be discovered. I blessed the carelessness that had caused me to set the space-time dials a little off when I began this journey to the distant past. I had come to this barbaric era in the proper time, indeed, but millions of miles removed from it in space. It had been only after an annoying search that I had discovered Earth, jetted toward it in my space drive suit, and had come down out of the skies to land on this tiny deserted island in the middle of an empty sea. But it was incredible luck that had brought me there, for I had found exactly what I needed, a man who would give me information, clothing, and an identity, and then die and obliterate the record of my interference with the course of events. I, Thom Ra, walked toward him, feeble though he was. He opened his eyes and stared at me. "Thank heaven," he whispered, in the thick, hideous language of that era. "I couldn't have lasted much longer if you hadn't found me." He fell back and smiled at me with heartfelt gratitude, and for a moment I felt a wild, fleeting impulse to help him, to save his life. But of course I dared not interfere, for that would change the shape of the future, and that meant destruction for me. When I blasted off from the island, a little later, he was dead, and I was wearing his uniform and his name. He gave me information before he died, and I had no trouble locating the spot I wanted. I waited till dark before landing a few hundred yards from the war dome. Then I hid my space drive suit in a cluster of ancient trees and walked into the building that housed the most murderous weapon of all time. The sentry challenged me, of course, but I was ready for him. After a quick look at my stolen credentials, he sheathed his ray pistol. "Pass, sir," he said, and I walked in, no longer as Thom Ra, but identified as Captain San Requa of the Intelligence Service. At once I saw the atom rocket. It was on the other side of the great chamber, nestled in a wheeled cradle, ready to be rolled out to the blast-off point. Hurrying technicians swarmed about it with the last-minute checks. I walked over, saluted the officer who was supervising, and began to witness events which I had crossed so tremendous a span of years to observe. The atom rocket was a long silvery torpedo, a cluster of tubes at the rear, a snub-nosed warhead at the front. A panel in the side of it was open, and technicians were setting dials according to the figures read off by a white-haired old officer with the insignia of a general on his collar. I listened in awe and reverence, straining to note and remember everything that occurred. To think that I was actually present at the climactic moment of the legendary War of Annihilation. It was the most thrilling moment of my life. Almost I forgot to curse Master Lys and his duplicity as I watched. Almost, but not quite. For the thing was too fresh in my mind, and I was aware that I was still in danger. It had begun with a routine notice that my preparatory work had been approved and that I was authorized to enter a theme in ortho history for my final citizenship ratings. The theme, I saw with a sinking heart, was the War of Annihilation. I had hurried to Master Liss, my instructor, sure that there was an error. "Master, you give me an impossible task," I had said. "The theme regulations are that I must make a real and complete contribution to human knowledge." "But how can I? We have so pitifully few records of the War of Annihilation. All of them have been studied and analyzed and worked over for thousands of years. There's no way for me to add to what has been written already." He cackled at me in his insufferable Tri-Alpha way. "There is a way," he mumbled, peeping at me out of his rheumy old eyes. It took me a moment to realize what he meant. "The time belts!" And Master Liss nodded. Well, I argued with him, of course. The time belts were too dangerous. Not one time traveller in 10 returned from the past, even when their projects were as recent as 100 years ago. And the farther into the past one ventured, the more certain it became that return would be impossible. For although the mechanism of the time belts could be trusted, and there was no physical menace that the conductor screens or the catenated guns could not cope with, there was the ever-present danger of fan-shaped time itself. It was the first law of chronistics. Our era is a product of everything that occurred in the past. Should anything in the past be changed, our age would also be changed. Oh, it would continue to exist, but in a parallel branch of time. And there was no way of passing from one branch to another. And if a traveller into the past should interfere in the course of events, he would be bound to the new time stream his actions created, and the unlucky traveller would never be able to return. The branches of fan-shaped time could never be retraced. The man who interfered with the space-time matrix, displacing even a comma in the great scroll of time, would be cut off from his origin forever. The danger was too great. I refused to accept the assignment, even though I knew it would mean I would never rise to the status of Tri-Alpha citizenship, which was otherwise my right. But then I heard about Elrond, lovely, adored Elrondree, and I could no longer refuse. For Elrond's mating indices were posted, and she was a Tri-Alpha herself. Then I understood what had been in Master Liss's mind when he set that impossible task for me. For I knew that the gnarled, worm-eaten old wreck had dared to covet my Elrond. Loving me, she could never be his, but with me out of the way, he might have a chance. I accepted the assignment. Master Liss secured a time belt for me. He was willing enough to help at my execution, and I began my perilous journey through time. I came back to my surroundings with a start. Something was wrong. Subconsciously I had been studying the atom rocket, and now I was jolted out of my reveries as I realized that it did not look as it should have. The ortho history books were clear on one fact. Venus had been destroyed in the War of Annihilation by means of a hydrogen chain reaction, the most deadly atom blast known. Atoms of hydrogen, under the influence of gamma particle bombardment, coalesced to form atoms of helium, and all the incalculable power represented by the odd fraction of mass left over was released in the form of free energy. But the atom rocket before me seemed to be nothing more than a simple nuclear fission affair. Where were the photon exciters, the gamma-ray bombardment equipment? Of course, even a fission bomb could do a good deal of local damage, as shown in the first atom-bombed cities during the little wars of the early 20th centuries. But unless our nuclear science was in error, it could not set off a chain reaction of the type that had destroyed the Venusian colonies. Was I in the wrong place? Alarmed, I shoved my way closer to the rocket. staring at it. It was a crude, primitive affair, of course, and it was hard for me to identify its parts. I examined it with frantic curiosity, and abruptly I found myself in peril. One of the technicians I had pushed aside was staring at me, eyes filled with suspicion. I caught his gaze and cursed myself for having acted so rashly. Desperately, I strove to think of a way to allay his suspicions, but it was too late. "What are you doing?" the technician demanded. "Who are you?" I tried to conciliate him. "Captain Sanrek was my name," I said, using the name on the stolen identity papers. "I am—" But I got no farther than that. My accent gave me away. "He's a spy!" roared the technician. "Help!" And a dozen ray pistols flashed out of the holsters as the men around us were galvanized into action. I lost my head. Terrified, I grabbed for the safety belt concealed beneath my stolen tunic, touched the button that controlled my conductor screen. The screen shimmered into instant life, and not a moment too soon. Rays from the weapons pointed at me flashed from all sides, sparked against the opalescent curtain of the screen, and were dissipated. I was safe, but only for an instant. For I had made my second great mistake. I was too close to the atom rocket. My conductor screen grazed the warhead itself. Its energies surged through the unstable elements in the warhead. A warning bell sprang into clamorous life. The group around me froze in their tracks, mouths open, faces mirroring fright and disbelief, and the frightful power of the strained atoms within the warhead began to grind toward nuclear fission. There was only one thing to do, and a poor choice it was. But in a moment the warhead would explode, and of me and my mission and the whole future of Earth nothing would be left but a puff of fiery vapor. Quickly I dropped the shield off my conductor screen, trusting that my luck would hold, and the men around me would be too dazed to fire their weapons again. I drew my catonator, set it at drain, focused it on the atomic warhead. The twin violet beams sprang out and impinged on the silvery metal, pierced it, and sucked the heart from the seething mass of erupting matter within. Blinding energies were drawn from those toppling atomic structures, surging through the carrier beam of the catonator into the photon pack cartridges at my waist. I had an instant's fear as I wondered if the storage pack would hold all the mighty energies of the warhead, far greater than the maximum load for which it was designed. But lightnings of static electricity played around my head, dissipating brilliantly but harmlessly into the air, and in an instant the danger was over. The bursting energies of the warhead had been drawn out, and the mass of matter inside it was inert. Before me lay the atom rocket, harmless, dead. I had destroyed Earth's most potent weapon. I give those ancients credit for bravery. Dangerous though I must have seemed, they closed in on me without firing their weapons. Meekly I raised my arms over my head. The white-haired general blazed hatred at me from his pale eyes. "Who are you?" he demanded. I shrugged. Carefully I phrased my words in their outlandish tongue. "I am a visitor from the future," I said. "I regret the accident that just happened more than I can say." "Regret it?" he blazed. "Ha! You'll regret it twice as much when you face the firing squad." I spread my hands helplessly. In truth, death had no terrors for me now. A firing squad would seem almost a blessing, for I had destroyed the bomb that would have blasted Venus. Whatever happened now, the future before me was changed, and in a changed future I had no place, and my Elrond would not exist. "Take him out and shoot him," the general cried. I turned to go to my death, almost eagerly. In my heart I whispered, "Elrond, Elrond, my lost love." The technician who had unmasked me interfered. "Wait," he begged. "Let me question him, sir.
Perhaps he's telling the truth." The general glowered. "What's the difference? He's wrecked the bomb." But he hesitated and finally said, "All right, question him. The harm's done anyhow." Sunk in despair, I scarcely heard the other officer's sharp queries, but he was hesitant, and I told him whence I had come and why. He looked at me incredulously. "But the bomb," he demanded, "what did you do to it?" I patted the photon pack cartridges strung along my belt. "I had to drain it," I said. "It was about to explode." "Drain it? How?" "With a catonator." I explained to him how the energies of the exploding atoms were drawn off through the catonator beams and trapped in the photon pack. He stared at the tiny power cells, eyes wide, but showing a sudden glint of hope. "Can you take that energy out again and send it into another object?" "You mean to energize the atom bomb again?" I said. "No, of course not." He was shaking his head. "I mean something else," he said. "Can you send them across 50 million miles of space?" I stared at him, fascinated and afraid. "I dare not interfere," I whispered. "But you have interfered," he yelled. "You wrecked our chance to win this war. You've got to help us." I stepped back, bewildered. What he said was true enough. Yet all my training, all the warnings of Elrin and Master Liss said over and over, "You must not interfere." Yet I had interfered already. I had started a new time sequence by destroying Earth's chance to wipe out Venus. If I could neutralize that act by helping them now, perhaps there would be a chance. "I will show you how to use the catonator," I said weakly. Silently I adjusted it, slipped the belt off and handed it to him. He led me outside to where stars blazed in a black night. He looked upward hesitantly, pointed to a brilliant blue planet. "Is that it?" he asked one of his companions. The man nodded. Carefully he took aim, pressed the trigger as I had showed him. Lightnings roared again. The twin violet beams leaped from the muzzle of the weapon, howled up into the heavens. In a fraction of a second, the photon pack was drained, and the pyrotechnic display died away. All was silent. One of the officers raced into the building, pounded the keys of a calculator. He returned almost at once. "At this distance, it will take just under 9 minutes for light to make the round trip," he said. The officer who had fired the catonator whirled to confront me. "Suppose I missed," he cried in sudden alarm. "It is so far. A fraction of a second of arc would make the beam miss entirely." I shook my head. "The beam fans out," I explained, "and a planet has mass, and the photons are attracted to gravity. Even if they should miss, the attraction of the planet would draw them into it." He nodded and was silent. Silence cloaked us all, 100 ancients and myself, all staring up into a mysterious night. 9 minutes passed as slowly as 9 terrible years, but by and by the hands of my chronometer completed their revolutions. Suddenly we saw the catonator beam strike. Above us a new sun blazed forth, kindling like the striking of a cosmic match. Night fled around us, and day came flaring up into noonday brilliance and beyond. Heat poured down upon us, brilliant rays of sunlight more intense than I had ever seen. The dome behind me sparkled and glistened in the incredible radiations from the stricken planet millions of miles away. And for a moment I could almost feel the fierce cynic waves of ultraviolet cosmics and 1,000 other superspectral radiations. Then the peak was reached, and the light began to fade as all the hydrogen was transmuted and consumed. In a moment, the flare of energies was gone,
and the pale blue planet had become a glowing orange coal. We had seen 1 billion persons dying in a planetary settee. The vastness of the dead stunned me. I found that I was sobbing, almost weeping, as I felt myself stained with a cosmic guilt. The officer who had destroyed 1 billion lives glanced at me in full understanding of what he had done. He placed a hand on my shoulder, strangely comforting. "It couldn't be helped," he said in a voice that surged with emotion. I nodded bleakly. It couldn't be helped. "It was for the sake of Earth," I said, blindly seeking justification. Earth was destined to win in my time sequence, and I had interfered. I had to correct the consequences of my blunder. I stopped. Wild astonishment burst through the tragic mask on the face of the officer. He drew back his arm as though he had found himself embracing an adder. "What's the matter?" I asked in astonishment. He stared at me with
Match found.
Stand in my way. I dare you.
Do me a favor, Breach, and open them up. Toxin works best when directly injected.
Reloading.
Spike dropped.
I got the spike.
Enemy spotted me.
Carrier killed.
Spike down A.
There. One down.
Blinding! Our carrier's dead.
Spike down A. Last player standing.
Reyna, time to hunt.
Let's do what we do.
There.
Done.
Reloading.
There.
Here.
Plant the spike, Wings.
Plant the spike.
Spike planted. Thanks, Wings.
Last player standing. One enemy
Good
remaining.
attack.
Clutch.
I am not just your healer.
Gentle Sage is not so gentle after all. Break them. Ay, corazón. Reloading.
Flash out!
Infect.
Enemy A.
Reloading.
There.
Careful here! Blinding!
Goodbye.
There.
On my mark.
Enemy B!
30 seconds left.
Wingman's gonna plant spike. Right sticky. Thanks, little man.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
As much as this world hurt me, it's mine, and I will kill to defend it.
Don't let up!
I have the spike.
I got
dropped
the spike.
My ultimate is ready. Reloading.
Reloading!
Careful here.
Flash out!
My ultimate is ready. Your duty is not over. Back where I belong.
Behind.
30 seconds left.
There! All side.
Up and away! Enemy A!
10 seconds left.
Shot my wingman! Concussing!
Spike down A.
Alright, homies, chill. We'll go again. Damn, you love being here. Like,
Here.
way too much.
Embarrassed him. Enemy down.
Enemy B! Blinding!
Here.
Rotate.
Don't get in my way.
Plant the spike! Flash out!
Barrier created.
Down.
Spike down B.
Oh, what's wrong with me?
Leave us.
Last player standing.
Look them in the eyes when you kill them.
I don't have all day.
They will cower. Our spike's down.
Reloading.
I've got your
Spike
trail.
down B.
Blinding!
Blow him up, Mosh!
Last player standing.
Blind. The rush.
You will not kill my allies!
They think they're better than us. I can tell.
I want to see you crawl.
Healing you.
Train hard, my ultimate.
Flash out! Right there.
Enemy spotted A.
Dusted.
Eliminate.
Prepare for hellfire!
One enemy remaining. Flawless.
This is what we do.
Now we're talking. Don't jinx it though. Stay humble.
Deviation from protocol will not be tolerated. Alert. User performance will be monitored. Hesitation is commensurate to negligence.
Dead.
It's all you, little homie.
Blinding!
Reloading.
Reloading. Here.
Yeah. Enemy A. Watch you here. Spike planted.
One enemy remaining.
Right there.
Unit functionality maintained. New mission assigned.
I'm the last thing they'll see before they die. Lucky them.
Reloading.
Complete mission as ordered. Do not fail.
Gun here. Reloading. Still inside. Still inside. Reloading.
One enemy remaining.
Wingman's
Flawless.
spike.
I could have left my arms at home.
Spike sticking. Thanks, little man.
Make them big.
Give me the spike.
Reloading.
Give me the spike.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Wall raised. Your duty is not over.
Dizzy's up top.
Reloading.
Dizzy has
Forever!
Enemy spotted me.
Reloading.
Removed.
Reloading.
30 seconds left.
You're nothing.
Here.
Saw you, Mosh.
10 seconds left.
Flash out!
Wingman's planting.
One enemy remaining.
Spike planted. Thanks, Wings. You don't mess with my crew.
Let them try to get through me.
Y'all need a gun? I'll spot you.
Who will heal their healer?
Right there.
I will
On my mark.
They will cover.
I've got your trail.
Kill flank and go lobby.
Don't get in my way.
Scatter!
Spike down B.
Enemy spotted.
One down.
Enemy down.
30 seconds left. Last player standing.
You fucking idiot. Hey, now what are you doing, bro?
Blind fools.
10 seconds left. One enemy remaining. Last round in the half.
Spend what you got.
Y'all need a gun? I'll spot you.
I will ult on B. I will ult A.
Hit them fast, hit them hard.
Cutting their vision.
Enemy spotted A.
Let's go!
Reloading.
Spike carrier
Down.
Spike down A.
Dizzy's up! Someone's there.
Toxin screen down.
Rush is ready.
Folded.
Folded.
Tamam işte sen. Bülent.
It's all you, little homie.
Mute.
Crash got him! I'm good for 3.
30 seconds left.
Toxin screen down.
Rotate.
Last player standing.
They shot my wingman.
Switching sides.
They're just batteries. And I need a recharge.
For you, hermanita.
Enemy B. Enemy B.
Spike down B.
Blinding!
Reloading.
Opponent killed.
Spike planted.
Return to dust.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
3 down.
Clutch.
This is what I trained for.
So, do we mix it up? Double down? Let's talk.
Isolate them
Need a drop.
and kill them. Careful.
That's it.
Spike planted. One enemy remaining.
My buddy's defusing. Everybody thank Wingman. Come on, let's hear it.
Even with numbers, anything can still happen. Remember that.
Breathe deep. Here. Careful. Enemy spotted A. Squashed. For you. You fought well. My ultimate is ready.
Right there.
Enemy and defender spawn. Get out of my way.
Spike planted.
Oh my god.
Careful. Enemy spotted B.
Clearing out!
One enemy remaining.
Go, go, go.
Annoying fly.
Bridge go.
Last player standing.
Dying here would be unfortunate.
Clutch.
Look your enemy in the eye. It helps with accuracy.
See you on the other side. Here.
I'm pissed!
Exterminated. My ultimate is ready.
One there.
Still in sight.
Spike planted. Last player standing.
One light.
Poison's off.
Just swapping in new fusion cells. Okay, my arms are good. We can go.
Embarrass him. Omen killed. Enemy spotted B. Enemy spotted B.
Enemy spotted B.
Cutting their vision.
Flash out!
Reloading.
One enemy remaining.
Reloading!
Spike planted.
Healing you.
Oh fucking god. One defuse, please.
Annoying fly.
Wingman's on defuse.
Poison's off. Spike diffused.
That's true. Good advice.
Can someone get this? Thank you. Many enemies B. There.
Concussing!
Spike planted.
I've got your trail.
They're dead.
Toxins going up. Toxin screen down.
One enemy remaining.
Bro, please.
Don't kill
Last player
Hold on.
standing.
Go, defuse.
If you're not being shot at, you're doing something wrong.
We win. We survive.
With me.
Spike planted.
Up and away.
Wall raised.
Gotcha.
Last player standing.
The symphony of death. Don't worry, you get used to it.
No prisoners. They will cover. Enemy down.
Spike planted.
Enemy spotted B. Reloading.
Oh, one hit. Wait now. So long.
Saw you, little homie.
You see one? You see one?
One enemy remaining.
Second. Nice. Nice.
My city needs me. I can't be away for long. Let's end this quickly.
Kill them. Many enemies A.
Hi! I'm pissed!
Enemy A.
Last player standing. Spike planted. Flawless.
Once more into battle. I'm not tired. Are you?
Viper, no. Don't do this. Don't do this, Viper.
Come on.
No, Viper. No, Viper. Close zero.
Concussing!
Enemy A. Enemy spotted A. Erased. Somebody's there. Enemy spotted A.
You will
Mommy,
not
help.
kill my allies!
I don't know where is the woman? Woman in tower.
Enemy A.
I've got your trail.
Last player standing. Match point.
Need a drop.
Sorry. Inside joke.
Need a drop.
Let's see how it goes.
Spike down A.
Your motherfucker.
Spike planted.
Message sent. One dead.
Good Sage.
Last player standing.
Fuck.
It's okay,
You have
GG, guys.
two line. You have to
One enemy remaining.
use one. Use one. Go, go, go. You have no time. Go. Probably you're right.
Attackers win.
GG.
Dawning comprehension and pity. "Say that again," he whispered. "Why, I said I had to correct my mistake. I had interfered, and the time traveller who interferes maroons himself hopelessly. I had destroyed your weapon against Venus, yet Venus had to be obliterated, or else I had no chance of return. I was lost, and now perhaps I may have a chance to get back." He shook his head. There was compassion in his voice. "No, you have no chance," he said, and hesitated while I tried to take in his meaning. "You see, this is Venus." He waved at the glowing cinder in the sky. "That was Earth up there."
The end. Subscribe for your daily stories of futures past. And now, for the next story.
Never Meet Again by Algis Budrys. Originally published in Infinity, March 1958. Narrated by Tom Trisser. The breeze soughed through the linden trees. It was warm and gentle as it drifted along the boulevard. It tugged at the dresses of the girls strolling with their young men, and stirred their modishly cut hair. It set the banners atop the government buildings to flapping, and it brought with it the sound of a jet aircraft, a Heinkel or a Messerschmitt, rising into the sky from Tempelhof Aerodrome. But when it touched Professor Kempfer on his bench, it brought him only the scent of the Parisian perfumes and the sight of gaily coloured frocks swaying around the girls' long, healthy legs. Dr. Professor Kempfer straightened his exhausted shoulders and raised his heavy head. His deep, strained eyes struggled to break through their now habitual dull stare. It was spring again. he realized in faint surprise. The pretty girls were eating their lunches hastily once more, so that they and their young men could stroll along Unter den Linden. And the young men in the broad-shouldered jackets were clear-eyed and full of their own awakening strength. And of course, Professor Kempfer wore no overcoat today. He was not quite the comic pedant who wore his galoshes in the sunshine. It was only that he had forgotten, for the moment. The strain of these last few days had been very great. All these months, these years, he had been doing his government-subsidized research, and the other thing too. 4 or 5 hours for the government, and then a full day on the much more important thing no one knew about. 12, 16 hours a day. Home to his very nice government apartment, where Frau Ritter, the housekeeper, had his supper ready. The supper eaten, to bed. And in the morning, cocoa, a bit of pastry, and to work. At noon he would leave his laboratory for a little while to come here and eat the slice of black bread and cheese Frau Ritter had wrapped in waxed paper and put in his pocket before he left the house. But it was over now. Not the government sinecure. That was just maid work for the old savant who, after all, held the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for his work with the anti-submarine radar detector. That, of course, had been 15 years ago. If they could not quite pension him off, still no one expected anything of a feeble old man puttering around the apparatus they had given him to play with. And they were right, of course. Nothing would ever come of it. But the other thing, that was done now. After this last little rest, he would go back to his laboratory in the Himmlerstrasse and take the final step. So now he could let himself relax and feel the warmth of the sun. Professor Kempfer smiled wearily at the sunshine. The good, constant sun, he thought, that gives of itself to all of us, no matter who or where we are. Spring, April, 1958. Had it really been 15 years? And 16 years since the end of the war? It didn't seem possible. But then one day had been exactly like another for him, with only an electric light in the basement where his real apparatus was. An electric light that never told him whether it was morning, noon, or night. I have become a cave dweller, he thought with sudden realization. I have forgotten to think in terms of serial time. What an odd little trick I have played on myself. Had he really been coming here, to this bench, every clear day for 15 years? Impossible. But he counted on his fingers. 1940 was the year England had surrendered, with its air force destroyed and the Luftwaffe flying unchallenged air cover for the swift invasion. He had been sent to England late that year to supervise the shipment home of the ultra-short wavelength radar from the Royal Navy's anti-submarine warfare school. And 1941 was the year the U-boats took firm control of the Atlantic. 1942 was the year the Russians lost at Stalingrad, starved by the millions, and surrendered to a Wehrmacht fed on shiploads of Argentinian beef. 1942 was the end of the war. Yes. So it had been that long. I have become an indrawn old man, he thought to himself in bemusement. So very busy with myself. And the world has gone by, even while I sat here and might have watched it if I had taken the trouble. The world. He took the sandwich from his coat pocket, unwrapped it, and began to eat. But after the first few bites he forgot it, and held it in one hand while he stared sightlessly in front of him. His pale, mobile lips fell into a wry smile. The world, the vigorous young world, so full of strength, so confident, while I worked in my cellar like some Bolshevik dreaming of a fantastic bomb that would wipe out all my enemies at a stroke. But what I have is not a bomb, and I have no enemies. I am an honored citizen of the greatest empire the world has ever known. Hitler is 13 years dead in his auto accident, and the new Chancellor is a different sort of man. He has promised us no war with the Americans. We have peace and triumph, and these create a different sort of atmosphere than do war and desperation. We have relaxed now. We have the fruit of our victory. What do we not have in our empire of 1,000 years? Western civilization is safe at last from the hordes of the East. Our future is assured. There is nothing, no one to fight, and these young people walking here have never known a moment's doubt, an instant's question of their place in an endlessly bright tomorrow. I will soon die, and the rest of us who know the old days will die soon enough. It will all belong to the young people, all this eternal world. It belongs to them already. It's just that some of us old ones have not yet gotten altogether out of the way. He stared out at the strolling crowds. How many years can I possibly have left to me? 3? 2? 4? I could die tomorrow. He sat absolutely still for a moment, listening to the thick old blood slurring through his veins, to the thready flutter of his heart. It hurt his eyes to see. It hurt his throat to breathe. The skin of his hands was like spotted old paper. 15 years of work. 15 years in his cellar, building what he had built. For what? Was his apparatus going to change anything? Would it detract even one trifle from this empire? Would it alter the life of even one citizen in that golden tomorrow? This world would go on exactly as it was. Nothing would change in the least. So what had he worked for? For himself? For this outworn husk of one man? Seen in that light, he looked like a very stupid man. Stupid, foolish, monomaniacal. Dear God, he thought with a rush of terrible intensity, am I now going to persuade myself not to use what I have built? For all these years he had worked without stopping, without thinking. Now, in this first hour of rest, was he suddenly going to spit on it all? A stout bulk settled on the bench beside him. "Joachim," the complacent voice said. Professor Kempfer looked up. "Ah, George," he said with an embarrassed laugh. "You startled me." Dr. Professor George Tansler guffawed heartily. "Oh, Joachim, Joachim," he chuckled, shaking his head. "What a type you are! 1,000 times I've found you here at noon, and each time it seems as if it surprises you. What do you think about here on your bench?" Professor Kempfer let his eyes stray. "Oh, I don't know," he said gently. "I look at the young people." "The girls." Tansler's elbow dug roguishly into his side. "The girls, eh, Joachim?" A veil drew over Professor Kempfer's eyes. "No," he whispered. "Not like that. No." "What then?" "Nothing," Professor Kempfer said dully. "I look at nothing." Tansler's mood changed instantly. So, he declared with precision, I thought as much. Everyone knows you are working night and day, even though there is no need for it. Tansler resurrected a chuckle. We are not in any great hurry now. It is not as if we were pressed by anyone. The Australians and Canadians are fenced off by our navy. The Americans have their hands full in Asia. And your project, whatever it may be, will help no one if you kill yourself with overwork. You know there is no project, Professor Kempfer whispered. You know it is all just busy work. No one reads my reports. No one checks my results. They give me the equipment I ask for, and do not mind as long as it is not too much. You know that quite well. Why pretend otherwise? Tansler sucked his lips. Then he shrugged. Well, if you realize, then you realize, he said cheerfully. Then he changed expression again, and laid his hand on Professor Kempfer's arm in comradely fashion. Joachim, it has been 15 years. Must you still try to bury yourself? 16, Professor Kempfer corrected, and then realized Tansler was not thinking of the end of the war. 16 years since then, yes, but 15 since Martha died. Only 15? I must learn to think in terms of serial time again. He realized Tansler was waiting for a response, and mustered a shrug. Joachim, have you been listening to me? Listening? Of course, George. Of course, Tansler snorted, his moustaches fluttering. Joachim, he said positively, it is not as if we were young men, I admit, but life goes on, even for us old crocs. Tansler was a good 5 years Kempfer's junior. We must look ahead. We must live for a future. We cannot let ourselves sink into the past. I realize you were very fond of Martha. Every man is fond of his wife. That goes without saying. But 15 years, Joachim.
Match found.
Move or get zapped.
I will dodge this game, guys. Huh?
Okay.
Why? Because okay. Yeah, I could do, yeah.
I pick Neon, then you see him pick Jet, pick Phoenix or Revelation. Arena.
That Reyna won't hold back. I won't either. Go, go, go!
Cover going out. Enemy spotted.
There.
Here.
Here. Carrier is killed. I got Spike.
Spike down A.
Here.
Rich.
Last player standing.
What was that, Neon?
Sorry, man.
He disconnected.
Nah, he will come.
Cypher, stop bugging my gear with microphones. You're worse than Interpol.
I'm saving.
Guys, do you hear me?
Enemy spotted A. This way. Gotta go. Watch out.
Enemy spotted A.
Reloading.
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 Tripwire destroyed.
Last player standing. Spike down A.
Look for my shadows, they will hide you. Reloading.
There!
Reloading.
We go on my mark.
Let's go!
Check.
Reloading. Reloading.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Shadows traveling. Shadows
Reloading.
traveling.
I'm out of here!
Last player standing.
From behind.
Enemy spotted. C. Concussing.
Long.
Why open the door, bro? Why?
I find them. I kill them. Simple as that. Here. Don't get cozy.
Oh man, can I get smoke? Yeah.
Coming through! I'm out of here!
Trevor. Right there.
My ultimate is ready. Camera taken out.
Reloading.
Watch out!
Be faster.
Dusted. Where is everyone hiding?
Spike down A. Last player standing.
Go, go, go! Go away! That jet is all speed, no skill. She's mine.
Shadows traveling.
Reloading. Concussing.
My ultimate is ready.
Flash out.
Fucking cancel, bro. We are dueling.
Coming through! Gotta go!
What the fuck are you doing?
Bye-bye.
Plant the spike.
Spike planted.
Here.
The hunt begins!
One enemy
Nice.
remaining.
Go, go, go! My ult's ready.
Reloading.
Reloading. Go, go, go!
Trevor.
Gun here.
Their crew got sloppy. Punish them.
Reloading.
Gotta go! Shortcut!
Cover going out. Blinding.
Right there.
Enemy spotted A.
You had your fun. My turn.
My ult's ready.
Blinding! Reloading! Here.
One enemy remaining. Flawless.
I'm out of here!
Time to take these arms for a spin.
I'm out of here! There.
We go A or C?
Behind me.
Bro, do your entry, Neo.
Gotta go!
The spike.
Take this!
I have retrieved
Go, go,
the
go!
spike.
Shortcut!
Reloading!
Plant the spike! Plant the spike!
Right there. No. Okay.
No time.
I have planted the spike.
Cover going out.
One enemy remaining.
Trevor! I've taken worse. My ult's ready.
Get ready! I go fast! Go, go, go!
Reloading!
I'm out of here!
Shadows traveling.
Shortcut!
Enemy spotted A. Reloading!
Got one! Gotta go!
Tick.
Spike dropped.
I got spike.
Shadows traveling.
Nailed them. I'm out of here! Spike planted!
Cussing!
Go, go, go! Blocking sight.
One enemy remaining.
Someone is.
Cover going out.
Flash out! Blasting!
You didn't see that coming.
I'll do my job, you do yours.
I need this.
Gotta go!
My thanks.
Go, go, go! Spike's here. Shoot them. Always works.
Shadows traveling.
My camera is destroyed.
Let's go!
I'm out of here.
Duck.
I'm out of here. Gotta go. Oops. This way.
Spike planted.
Some
Here.
Cover going out.
Enemy spotted A. Here.
Right there.
Take this.
One enemy remaining.
Face your fear.
Not one
Go,
left.
go, go.
I feel the strain. Block it out, Omen.
Reloading.
Need a drop.
Yo, can I get this game?
Yeah, of course.
Can someone buy me? I don't have enough money for the
Thanks.
next round. Thank you.
Reloading.
Reach, by the way. Reverse
Ah,
him.
I can
Just so you
buy.
know.
Who needs what?
Oh, okay, okay. Next time.
I'm out of here.
Enemy spotted.
Gotta go.
C.
Trevor.
Cover going
Oh
out.
yeah! Monster on the loose!
Reloading.
This way.
Reloading.
Gotta go.
Where is
Plant the spike.
everyone hiding?
Plant the spike.
Got
I'm
it.
out of here.
Spike planted.
Here. Reloading.
Clearing out.
Watch out.
Enemy spotted B. Camera taken out.
Enemy spotted C. Blinding.
Your fault.
You had your fun. My turn.
Enemy spotted.
Them run.
One enemy remaining.
Better than yours.
Nice one, safe.
Here.
Save. No time.
Save.
Will they try the same old tricks?
Need a drop. Thanks. Go, go, go. I'll show them. Lintik kayo.
Reloading.
Here we go.
Let's see.
Oh my gosh, right there.
Almost out.
Right strike.
Watch out. I'm out of here.
Spike down, attacker spawn.
Headshot.
It's alright.
I got the spike.
One enemy remaining.
Spike planted. There you are, you little shit.
Last round in the half.
Spend your cash. Don't look back. Need a drop.
Weak. Good.
I'm out of here.
of my way!
Enemy spotted A.
Someone is A.
Concussing!
Our spike carrier is killed.
Spike down A.
I have retrieved the spike.
Take this! Here.
Here.
Gotta go! Coming through!
Planted the spike.
One enemy remaining.
Here. Here. Wow, my eyes are down. Reloading. Oops. No one to interrogate.
Switching sides.
If they try something, I'll see it.
Go, go, go! Omen, what's your rank? Go, go, go! The last like.
Come on, Jack. I will stun and you push.
Oh, okay. I prefer not to push, but I can push.
Go push. It's good.
Okay. If you say so.
Claw through them. Cover going out.
Enemy spotted A.
I got enemies A.
Gotta go!
Too late. Enemy spotted A.
Take this!
One
Go, go,
enemy
go.
remaining. Spike down A.
I'm out of here!
Sorry. I'm not good at
Hey,
pushing
don't
on
push.
defender.
Reloading.
Race into the spike
Nice.
site!
All stun. I stunned.
I hate pushing on defender, you know? That's why.
Gotta go! Psst, move!
Can I stay on site this time?
Yep.
Thank you. Someone needs to stay on A. I'll stay. They're probably playing slow. Don't push out. They're waiting for us to push out.
Maybe see. No wait,
Okay, flash A.
A. Yes, it's A.
Watch out! I'm out of here! Down!
Nice, Neil.
Here.
Going to see.
Weapon here.
One enemy
Really
remaining.
killed.
30 seconds left.
She's rotating.
Spike planted.
See. Fast.
Here.
Flash out!
Nice.
Nice well played.
Weapon here.
Was that important? Gun here.
We're not getting the message. Leave it to me, I'll rough them up.
Go, go, go! Gotta go!
Just, you are from French?
I will find
No.
you.
I'm not French.
Where?
Why? I don't know, because I wasn't birthed.
Okay.
My mom didn't give birth in France to me. I don't know. Yeah, they're pushing away, by the way.
Oh.
I'm out of here!
Oh my gosh, they're already there. Here and 20. Downstairs.
Watch out! Go, go, go!
Last player standing.
Stealing sight.
Come on.
They will scurry, and then they will die.
Just, where are you living?
I'm living in Germany.
But you are not from Germany.
I'm German, yeah.
Nice. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Here. Enemy spotted A.
Go, go, go!
No one in. Come on, fast. Go.
Running low. Gotta go!
Last player standing.
Nice try.
I can't see them yet, but I can feel them getting ready.
I'm out of here!
I'm saving.
This one.
Stay safe.
I'm out of here! Gotta go! Almost out. Take this!
They're probably going to see.
Let's clutch.
You need to clutch. I have 5 HP.
Spike planted. Last player standing. One enemy
Yikes.
remaining.
My ult's ready. This?
Sorry.
Where will they go this time?
Gotta go!
Jet, I have R. You have R. If they are A, I will ult. Okay?
R, like in League.
Go, go, go!
Okay. Okay.
Quick feet, quick trigger.
Come on, Jet. Why are you scared?
The hunt begins!
Running low. Go, go, go!
Yes.
Face your fear! Last player standing.
We know more than we did before. Let's use that.
Gotta go!
Bro,
Gotta go!
Oh my god. Can you stay? Okay.
no.
Watch them run.
Spike planted.
Enemy spotted A.
Blinding. Shadows traveling.
Last player standing.
Hit the fool. They're usually distracted once I reveal them. Make sure you take advantage.
I'm out of here.
Go. Go CB.
Reloading.
Okay, let's get set up. I'm saving. Worthless.
My ult's ready. Here we go!
Neon.
Out of charges. Running low.
Spike down A. One enemy remaining.
You had your fun. My turn. A.
Last player standing.
Be faster.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Ugh, I'm over them.
Do you have Phantom Skin?
Yes.
Nice.
Need a drop. Thanks.
Go, go, go!
You're welcome.
Go, go, go!
Take 'em. Right there.
Take this!
Ulti. Okay.
113 on the...
Spike planted. Last player standing.
Jet's extremely low.
Okay.
Headshot. My ult's ready.
One enemy remaining.
Shut up and let me work.
Nice try.
Listen up. Kill them before they kill us. of here!
Probably.
Enemy spotted A.
Gotta go! Almost out! Get out of my way! Go, go, go!
Multiple enemies A.
Watch out, close.
Spike planted.
Crowned it.
Last player standing.
Enemy killed.
Empty.
We get a pick, we move in. Got it? Gotta go!
Keep up.
See, I think.
Watch out! Shocked one! Face your fear!
Wait, guys, wait. Come on. Wait! I said wait.
Did you see me? I can't wait.
Spike planted. Last player standing. Match point.
Charge and shoot. Easy enough.
Bro, it's easy. When you see him in the site, just retake and wait your teammates. It's too easy.
I'm out of here. I'll show them. Lintik kayo.
The hunt begins!
Hey, smoke.
I'm out of here.
Don't. Wait.
Go, go, go!
Enemy spotted. Concussing.
Gotta go!
Reloading.
Spike planted.
I'm out of here. See ya.
Weak.
Here.
Coming through!
Oh yeah! Monster on the loose!
Gotcha, fun! My turn, A.
Last player standing. Attackers win.
GG.